Everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today, as you can see from the title, I'm going to be doing an unboxing and an initial first thoughts of this. Now this is the HitCam. It's something I actually hadn't really heard about until I saw it in my never-ending searches for different airsoft gear. But this is actually a scope cam, or a camera that you'll put on the rail or the front of your actual replica so that you can see what you're actually aiming at and shooting at. Now, this is from the same company that make probably, in my opinion, the best airsoft cameras in terms of the scope cams that are out there, which is RunCam. They've done quite a few cameras in the past, and actually I've had different versions of their products over the last few years. The first one I had actually was the scope cam, which I think a lot of people, if you've been playing airsoft for a while, are quite familiar with. I actually then got the RunCam Scope Cam 2, which was fairly similar. I've actually got one here so we can do a little comparison, but a fairly similar camera. I'll show you this just for reference to start with. I actually like this one a lot more. It's 4K, as you can see, and the other big thing for me was it's very compact, and actually it's a metal casing, built-in rail attachment for your Picatinny. So it just generally was great. Flick it on, flick it off. I believe you can push this button and capture like the last 15 seconds from what you're shooting. So I'll go through a comparison later, but this was my last experience of a product from RunCam, and I actually saw on their website, and actually when I was searching for a RunCam, was this, which is the HitCam. Now this is, it seems like a step up from the previous versions and models that they've done. Just to give you an idea, this RunCam Scope Cam 2 4K runs at about $190. So it's a very expensive piece of kit, but it does allow you not just to get your GoPro footage from your helmet cam or whatever you're running, but also, you know, if you're making airsoft footage or you want to zoom in on a specific shot because you think you've made, you know, a great kind of a great bit of play. This does give you that ability. I don't really use this in my CQB play, but outdoors this is fantastic. So this is their new version, which seems like a big step up. That one is $190. This one actually varies in price from $260 all the way up to $350. So you're kind of looking at almost double the price for this. And this actually arrived last night, so I haven't really seen it, but it did come in a lot bigger packaging. And we can see here, it's upside down, but it is different actually. Doesn't seem to have RunCam really listed on it. You can see there 10 times optical zoom, which is something I'm excited for. It actually, I believe, has a manual zoom on it as well, which is definitely something that the previous scope cam models don't have. There's something else inside this package. So I'm gonna have a look here. And I believe, actually, I'm going to leave this for after, but there are different packages which you can do, hence the price varying up to $350. And I believe this is something which is really, really going to set apart this product compared to what we've used before. So I'm going to leave that to one side, and you guys can get very, very excited about what that is. Now, let's open up the package and see what's inside. If you guys are thinking about getting one, this video is for you, because I just want to give you an initial thoughts on what it is. I found it very hard to find actual content on this. So hopefully this is of use to you guys, but please let me know in the comments if it is, or if you actually hate this. So here is the in Chinese, I believe, you know, the manual. I think hopefully they'll have an English version. Yeah, so there's an English version there. So it seems like there is a lot to go through on this one. So I'll have to read through this later, but just to give you guys an idea, that's kind of what you're looking at. There's actually a good instruction booklet to go through to work out what to do, which is good for a camera. Okay, so right now, guys, just my initial impressions of this, it's huge. Definitely not something I was expecting. I was thinking that this would be a similar size to the Scope Cam 2, and it is considerably bigger, and it is also a lot heavier. I don't know, I should probably get this out, guys, here for you so you can get a comparison. This is not something I'm keen on, definitely. So you guys can get an idea there. It doesn't actually look a huge difference on, well, it does, but it doesn't probably get in camera the difference that is actually there. This is probably at least double the weight that this is. Obviously it's similar branding, as you can see, although this has your HitCam and this actually has Scope Cam 2. Similar button on the top, and no branding on this side, but it is definitely a lot heavier. Now, to give you guys an idea of this has a lot more features. I thought that was a marking, but it actually seems like a bit of dust. This actually here as well, I've just noticed, has 2 attachments for your Picatinny, which I think actually, considering the weight of this and the size of it, that's a very good idea, because it's definitely a lot heavier and you probably do not want it wiggling around on a single, an actual single point of attachment. Now it's got a scope cover, which is kind of cool. I believe this actually has a built-in, the actual plastic on this should be able to withstand the hit of a BB. I know that they have done this on this, and from reading the specs, I believe it is the same on this. My initial thoughts just from feeling this, guys, is I think this is going to be fantastic for a sniper. And actually what I'm also thinking is if you've got one of the Hydra mounts, which I actually use on my Mark 18, which is kind of the 2-stage mount, which has your, I have an EOTech and then I have an actual PEC unit below it. This might be a bit deep, but it could be something where if you're running it underneath your PEC unit, it's not going to add that much front end weight to your replica. And actually you're going to get a very good idea of what you're aiming at. Obviously it says it's 4K here. You have your insert there for your charging and for your SD card. This has an internal battery, like the Scope Cam 2. The Scope Cam originally, the first one, which you can still get, still a great product, but it definitely doesn't give you the same range or quality as the Scope Cam 2. That had an external battery, which in a way was quite good because you could carry a couple of batteries with you and then change them out as you needed. But the battery capacity wasn't great, to be honest with you. A big change as well, I think, is it's got a screen on the back of it, which actually seems very cool. I'm trying to think where the on button is going to be here, so we can maybe have a look at this. It may not have any charge to it. Okay, there we go. So hopefully you guys can see that. It says no card on it, and it's not at the moment giving me a picture, probably because, okay, that's really cool, guys. I'm going to try and get that not flashing on camera, and it is zoomed in very, very close. Sorry, it's kind of very close on what it is. So I think that's giving some kind of flash on the camera, and that is like it's kind of trying to focus. I'll try and give you a little, it's hard for me to get this in camera, but this is very bright, it's huge. It looks like it is kind of protected, the screen protector here. It's obviously not recording because I haven't got an SD card in there. So it's kind of showing me that there. It's showing me the battery level, and it's showing me that it's got 4K 30 frames per second. If I zoom this in, it's still just saying no SD card. And I think this is the optical, sorry, this is the digital zoom. This, which I think is really awesome, is it actually has a physical zoom as well. It's not just an optical, a digital zoom, it's actually an optical zoom. So like a normal scope that you would see on a DMR, a 3 to 5 times zoom or an actual sniper scope, you've actually got this which will turn and give you closer or further away, which means really you could use this as a scope separately. I'm going to turn this off now so that it doesn't stop flashing at me. So that goes off, which is pretty good. You could use this as a separate scope. You've actually got a vision there. It'll be interesting to see, and I will do some tests on this, how good the vision is. Because if you could just run this, it's not going to look very, milsim. But if you could use this instead of your EOTech, and then obviously you've got kind of like a red dot up to, let me see what the zoom is on this. So it's got 4K recording, 10 times optical zoom. So that means that you can actually turn this from 0 to 10, which is huge. I would say the turn on it isn't massive. So I presume that's going to be very, very touchy. You're going to have to turn very slightly to get more and more zoom. And it has an 8 times digital zoom. So you could kind of use this to zoom in, I presume, forward and backwards. But you could, depending on how good the quality is on this and how the lighting is, use this as its own cam, its own scope, and not actually have to use a scope. So its weight and size may not be as much of an issue. I think for me, I'm going to be using this more on milsims, and I like my replicas looking realistic. So I'd try it out, but I don't know if it's something I'd be using. you know, maybe if it's a different kind of event and actually that's really important, it's too heavy on a SMG or something smaller, then that would be cool. And I believe what you can also do actually is you can put the you can actually put the reticle on here. So it does actually have the ability to have on the screen the reticle show up, which is something on this camera that you couldn't do. Obviously you can't make it kind of pointless, you know, to actually kind of see that. You could add the reticle afterwards just so that you could kind of center where it is and you could make video content. But this actually having that there probably is good in two ways. Means you could use it as a scope, but actually it also means that you can actually in post editing, you can kind of line it up easily because you know where it is. So that being able to zoom, I'm kind of impressed with that. I have to say it's very sturdy feeling. It's a very similar kind of metal design to the actual RunCam 2, which I have. It's got 4K recording, which you would be, you know, you'd be expecting. You can zero the reticle. So that again, guys, I think look into this as much, but it means that you can definitely use this as a scope by itself. Because if you can zero the reticle and you can move the reticle, that means you're not kind of compensating for where it's going. And you can digitally move the reticle on this like you would on a red dot or a regular scope. So it'll be interesting to see. The big reason I bought this is that it can shoot at night. So it has the ability to basically film IR. So apparently it can take a very clear picture in low light. Again, hopefully that will be good for the actual use of it being a scope, because obviously, you know, if you're using a clear lens scope, it's not going to be great at night, but you're not depending on a digital screen. So if it can do that, that's fantastic. And it does come with an attachment, which you can buy or you can not have in the package, which I'm going to show you in a second. I believe that is in here, which I think is going to be really something that sets this apart. And when I had a friend who was actually going to a Milsim West event this weekend, I'd ordered this and I actually got it from AliExpress. So if you guys are looking at buying it, I got a very much cheaper price on AliExpress than I even got on the RunCam website. So I definitely check that out, and it looks like there's no issue. It's brand new. You know, it actually came in probably 10 days of shipping, but he was like, hey, if it arrives before I go on Milsim West, I would love to be able to use this to film with night vision in infrared environments, because obviously at Milsim West you're playing in the dark a lot and it's very hard to get footage. You can get night vision recorders, which actually I've got one for my PVS 14s, but obviously seeing where the BB is going unless you have a tracer is going to be almost impossible. So if you're taking rangy shots, which you definitely can do, it's very hard to see if you're actually hitting, as opposed to just seeing the BB fly out of your replica. So hopefully this does something like that. So another thing that I've just seen, so I'll put that down for now, guys. If you have any questions about it or you want me to make a follow-up video, definitely leave it in the comments below, and I'll get on that. As I said, I'm going to do a review of this, so you'll be able to see what the actual footage looks like in low light, in regular light, zoomed in, zoomed back. I'm going to try and give you a perspective based on my PVS 14 recording of what this looks like in comparison to it, and also with an attachment that comes with it, which I'm going to talk through. Here is obviously a pressure switch, which is going to go into the USB-C that we saw on the side, which is great because actually being able to just hit it to record as opposed to moving your hand and then putting it onto here and, you know, making sure it's pushed on. It does also apparently have the same setting which that one has, which is that you can push this button, I believe, and it will record the last 15 seconds. So if you haven't got it recording actively and you're like, wow, that's annoying, I just made an incredible shot, why didn't I have it on? You have the ability to hit that and you can recapture what it is, which I think is a really, really great feature, because the amount of times that I've done that is annoying as hell. So having this, like you would for your flashlight or even for your IR light for your PEC box, is great, because if this is filming IR and you're seeing IR through it, then you can actually record as you're doing it and you can see what's happening. So I would probably, if I'm using this in a night environment especially, if not, you know, CQB maybe, I would have this on there. and just kind of have that there on my front rail so that I could do it. There is no attachment, so I think you'd have to just slip it into some kind of adapter, but we'll see if that comes with it. Here is your charging cable, which obviously you're going to need, but everyone's got the USB-C chargers. This little box in here comes with, okay, so that looks like, oh, okay, so this is also waterproof. Now that, again, I think is awesome, especially with that all that digital stuff in it, like the screen. The fact that it is waterproof means that actually, again, in Milsim West events, if you're doing stuff and you're getting splashed, I've seen Airsoft Alphonse, for instance, doing underwater shots with his gas blowback, and I only use gas blowbacks, so it's something I've always wanted to do. But obviously putting a camera there is very difficult, and so being waterproof for this could be huge. I don't know how comfortable I would be using it waterproof, but this looks like it's another rubber seal that could go around probably the back of the camera here, so that you could make sure that that is waterproof sealed, or you could, re-seal it if you really want to, because that is going to be a very hard shape. It's not really an O-ring as you would typically have. Okay, so here is a Picatinny rail adapter, which is amazing they include that. So if you want to run this on the side, or you have looks like M-lock, yeah, if you have an M-lock attachment, rail that you want to put it on, which is normally not going to be on the top rail, but obviously if you're trying to run it side, or if you're trying to run it in a different location, which is definitely possible, because if you're trying to get your sight or your red dot over the top of this, you may want to do that. Probably not if you're using it as a scope, obviously, and putting the reticle in the right place, but just for filming, you can buy these very easily, but actually just having this as an attachment that's included is value. I think that's great that they actually include that and think it through. So that's great. And then some little attachment screws. I don't know what these are going to be for, but I can try and find that out and I can let you guys know. So that's the kind of broad overview of the actual camera as I've kind of opened it in the box. So my initial impressions, just from what I've said, guys, really impressed with the quality of it. I'm actually amazed at that screen and how clear it is and the size of it. I like running red dots that have a really big window in them, especially on pistols, which obviously this isn't going to be run on. But I really like having a big window because my eye does not pick up the target as quickly if it's not. Those small little red dots, I really don't like them. So the fact that the screen is actually big and it's kind of the size that you probably have of most scopes, or red dots, for me is really impressive, and it's hard to get that across in the details. So that's something that I'm really, really excited about. The size of it is definitely something which I think is a bit of a letdown. Well, not a letdown, but it's definitely something I wasn't expecting as much. I probably was expecting it to be the same size as the scope cam. So if you're thinking, right, I really want that to be, compact, or I'm expecting it to be that size, just know from this video, it's not going to be the case. Okay, guys, so this is something, and you're like, what are you doing? What is this in regards to the scope? Now, this is something that comes extra. So if you're going to spend the $350, I believe is the price for this one, it is an attachment that actually can go on the side of the scope. And this is going to be exclusively for if you're using this at night. Now, what I like about it is it's not built in. It is huge again. It's looking like it's probably going to attach somewhere like that. You probably want the end of this torch, which is IR. It is not going to be a regular torch, because obviously having a regular torch on there is not going to help much, and it's going to give you away in those environments. But this is an IR light, and it looks substantial in terms of size. What's interesting, I just pushed that thinking, has it got a battery in it? I obviously don't know, because it's IR. It's not going to give out visible light. It's going to give out light that's going to be captured by the infrared camera that is in here. So that is going to be something that obviously you're only going to really use at nighttime. Let's see what else comes with this. This is going to be another pressure switch. So that's awesome as well, that this is going to attach with the pressure switch. And that means that you're actually going to be able to put the IR light on. What I would probably say is using two pressure switches for me is difficult. Maybe actually what you would do is put the IR light on and then put your thumb onto the other pressure switch to use the camera on and off, and then switch this on and off separately. So I don't know, having two different pressure switches. What would actually be awesome is if you had a way to link the two, and then you had one pressure switch which could activate both at the same time. If you're watching RunCam, that's something that I would advise. But this is going to be very similar to a lot of your attachments, where instead of having the pressure button at the back, which again I think you could probably use quite easily, you could use this. And actually it has got a rechargeable RunCam battery in it, so you would probably have to get a rechargeable battery charger. I have one, and you can get them from Amazon, but that is a 7.4 volt 18650, or sorry, a 3.7 volt 7.4 watt hour 2000 milliamp hour version. Again, very well built. This is solid, it's heavy, so to give you an idea, that's obviously going to allow you to put that onto the side of your rail and use that as you want. You probably don't want to use it on all the time. If it's a Milsim West event, a lot of people have night vision at night, and this is really going to give you away. It's going to be something that, oh, it actually is on. I don't know if you guys can see it. There it is. So it is on. So don't listen to anything I'm saying. This is on, and then it will turn off. So that's actually really cool. I can see that. I didn't expect to be able to see that, but it will give you, I think, a really large area of IR light that you're going to be able to see. What I also thought with this is, you know, I have a PEC box, which does give out that IR torch and an IR laser. But this actually, the thing with this, it looks a lot larger in terms of the space and the amount of IR light it's going to give out. So if you're using it CQB and you come around a corner and you use this, it's probably going to blind someone using, or not blind, but it's going to make someone using night vision not able to see for that amount of time more than a PEC box is. And for your actual night vision looking out, it's probably going to give you a better field of view. Now, I don't know how that's going to be long range because it is a large bulb that is here, but it is something that I think is worth testing. And again, guys, I'm going to do a testing video of this at night so you can see just how much light this thing gives out. And then to show you this as well, this is the actual attachment. So what's going to happen, I believe, is, oh, you know what I think that is I think that this attachment, which is the attachment that goes onto you know, the rail adapter, I think that's going to go on the side here, and so that's going to attach here, and then your actual torch is going to go through this attachment, if I show you that there. So the actual M-lock kind of rail thing, I think is just going to directly screw into here. If you're not using M-lock, it's going to be the same size screw. So you're going to have the Picatinny rail on here. It's probably better if I show you. Picatinny rail is going to go onto the side here. Let's see actually if we can do it quickly, just partly so that you guys can see, or we can test it. So I think, oh, this is going to go through here, and then actually that is going to attach, and that feels right. I do not have a Allen key with me right now, or a hex key, but yeah, that's attaching. So that is going to attach in 2 points there. Sorry, I'm not doing it properly, but I know it's going to take me a while to actually attach that around the torch as well. But that's actually great because you've basically then got QD release, or quick detach, where you can use it, and then suddenly at nighttime it's, you know, getting dark, and then you just want to attach this onto the side. You can have this in your gear. This is going to be there. You can just literally clip it onto the side, and then you have this sitting just on the corner here. So when you're needing to use it, you have the pressure switch there, you have it on the side, and actually this is going to be very, very heavy. But it's probably worth it if you're going to be able to shoot IR and if at nighttime, and you can actually remove that quite easily. So it's not going to be necessary that you have to carry all at the same time. Now, actually, the other thing which you can get, which I don't think I got in my package, but now I kind of wish that I had, is that you can get an eyepiece. So the eyepiece attaches onto here, and means that presumably you can make this entire area dark. So if it is night and it's glaring. You know how you normally have on a sniper scope? Well, you don't normally, but a lot of people will run them. Actually, more you see it like the SVD or old school snipers. But that means that you could basically use this as a scope. I was thinking, why is that? Why would someone need to want to actually have that attachment? I may actually go and order one now, because if I want to use it as a scope separately, having that eyepiece attachment means you can put your eye against this and then oh, hello, you can see me there. Hi guys. You can use this as basically a scope where you're not kind of getting the glare from outside. I'm in Southern California, so you get a lot of that light, but I'm quite impressed. So get an idea just of the overview. Apparently the battery life is 4 hours. It's got flashback recording. So as I said, I think you hit this button here and it's going to record the last 15 seconds. It's got the HitCam app, which apparently means you've got live view. You can control the camera recording. So I think that's going to be Bluetooth. So it's not like you can set this into a corner somewhere, go off half a mile and then look at it. But it is going to be something where, you could look around a corner technically. I don't think anyone's going to do that. But it gives off its own Wi-Fi signal, not Bluetooth, as I'm just reading. So you can set the camera parameters, what it looks like, the saturation, the exposure. You can tinker with it, so it's not just that. As I said, you can get an eyepiece for this, the remote pressure switch, the flashlight mount, which I've got. But I would say, guys, if you're getting this and it's going to film at night and you don't have a PEC box that you're going to use, you might want to get the package which has this included. I'm going to do the testing, so hopefully I'll give you guys a better idea of if you need to spend that extra money. But it films at night, it is waterproof, it's got a 0 reticle, 4K recording, it's an HD image quality. It says it's a 464 high resolution screen, which I have no idea what that means, but it is actually apparently gives you very little lag, 10 times optical zoom, 8 times digital zoom, and it is... that's probably about it, I think. In terms of speed that you can record, obviously you can do 4K, and let's see what else it can do. You can do 4K at 30 frames per second, 2.7K at 60 frames per second, 2.7K at 30 frames per second as well, 1080p at 90, 1080p at 60, and 1080p at 30. So it's adaptable. I would definitely get a large, and I'm going to get a large SD card to put in the side here, but it's great that it's got that flexibility as well. I presume you can change that on the actual the app itself. I don't think this is going to have a lot of functionality of changing things on these buttons. It's probably going to be more zooming in, optical, moving the reticle, not probably a menu, but when I test it, we'll look at that. So to give you an idea of just comparison with this one, it is an aluminium housing, 240 minutes recording. So that's going to be similar, isn't it? 60, 120, yeah. So 4 hours, it's going to be the same. It's got the digital zoom, 90-degree rotating. So that's going to be the same as this. Apparently it's got a crosshair, but as I said, you're not really going to use that because you don't have an actual crosshair, a screen to look through. You've got the flashback, you've got 4 times digital zoom. So instead of 8 times digital and 10 times optical, only 4 times. So a big difference with that. You can put custom crosshairs on, same thing. So you can adjust the angle of the lens camera by referring to the link. Okay, there's a link on here. Aluminium housing, it's got the protective lens in it, which is great. And that is probably, it's got low battery vibration. So if it's getting low on battery, it vibrates. And also when you activate the actual camera, it vibrates, which I think is great. The GoPro issue that I have sometimes is you have the beep, beep, beep if it starts and beep, 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 beep if it stops. But actually having the vibration, especially if you've got a replica in your hand, you can feel it. So I know when it's on. It's not like, oh, did I push the button far enough? Oh, I missed that. It's kind of it's a great feature. So it'll be interesting to see if this has it. It doesn't say that on here, but I'll have a look. And in terms of this can do 4K. It can actually do, I think, similar frames per second and recording. It says it can only do 1080 at 50 frames per second, not at 30, and it says micro SD is max 256 gig, which I think is very weird, and I don't know why that is. This one says 512 max, so it's good I've just read that, because I probably would have bought a 1 terabyte, but again, it's good to know, and that's going to have a very similar finish, very similar everything else. So guys, I'm impressed with this. I have to say it's impressive on paper. It's impressive what I think it can do, and just from looking at that screen, but we're going to have to test it. And that's what's really going to, figure out if this is worth the extra money. And so what I'm going to do, guys, is I'll do that in the next couple of days. I'll put the video up ASAP. But if you have any specific questions or you want me to test something specifically, let me know, because I don't want to do the whole video and then miss something you guys really want to find out about. So please put that there. I'll leave it a little bit so that I know exactly what it is. I'll make a list. I'll do the nighttime filming, and I'll try and do the recording through my actual PVS 14 so you can see it from a different perspective. I'll do the daytimes. I'll show you the different zoom in, zoom out, and I'll mount it in different places on my actual replica so you guys can see what that is like. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, do the like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you guys are great wherever you are. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you very soon on the channel. Goodbye.